Hi, I'm Tim. Join me in this video as we take this F-22 and see what it looks like in the box and how it flies at the airfield. Let's get to it.
Oh my goodness.
So this is a 3-channel F-22 Raptor that came from the folks at kidstoylover.com. And we're going to kind of take a look at the box and take it for a test flight. You can see the size of it. It uses differential thrust to help turn, as well as the elevons, or the really elevons, both elevators and ailerons, that'll help it go pitch and to roll. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box contents and then discuss the model in a little bit more detail. With these ready-to-fly models, I usually like to take a look at the box because there can be some interesting bits of information on there. The box does say it's 2.4 gigahertz on the radio, so that means you don't have to worry about any interference. It does have LED lights and it has a six-axis gyroscope. It's very common for these smaller models to have gyroscopes in there to help stabilize the flight, but with this one we're going to see there's some special flight modes, like a vertical flight mode that I've never seen before. We're going to have to study that a little bit before we jump into the flights at the airfield. And there's a little bit more discussion here on those flight modes. They have a 6G level flight, a 3D roll in-flight mode, and then a vertical flight mode. I have never seen anything like this in my life. I really have no idea what a 3D roll means. 6G level doesn't mean too much, so we're going to have to spend a little bit of time on the instruction manual and just see how that works out in the field. It's important because of these gyro modes. They can be pretty powerful these days, especially with the larger control surface of this model. If we don't get it right, it may be difficult to fly. So right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the box and see what the plane looks like when it comes inside the box. This is the instruction manual. It covers 3 models, RC models. This is the F-22 here in the box. It's really completely built. You just put in the fins, insert the landing gear, add batteries, charge it up, and you're ready to go. These are the vertical fins located here, the transmitter, 4 AA batteries, and then just various charging cables, screwdrivers, props, and things of that nature. It's very nice that they do include 2 batteries for the airplane for longer flight times. These are all the components out of the box. You can see the airplane, the battery compartment located there. There is an on-off switch at the bottom. Make sure you turn it on to fly. Those are the 2 vertical fins, the 2 batteries, spare propellers. There's an A and a B for a left and a right. Landing gear and a screwdriver to help with various tasks. The transmitter itself. And that's all you need to set it up and go fly. So let's take a little bit more detailed look at the aircraft, and then we will go ahead and power it up and see how the thing works here in the shop. So again, a kind of rubberized nose here for safety. I think that's a good idea. The landing gear simply insert into slots, so there's nothing special about that. It looks like a firm fit, so I'm satisfied with that. Even though the gear looks a little bit funny when it's flying around, the question may come up, well, could I fly it without the gear installed? You could, but what happens is you're in pretty good likelihood you're going to knock off these props if you belly in on this, and it's just going to be a pain in the neck if the props pop off of the field, putting them back on. So I will be using the landing gear on my version of F-22 just as a prop saving device more than anything else. There's plenty of clearance on the ground with the landing gear from the props on there. You can't quite see it in the video, but the props are very clear. A here and a B over here. And then the props are called A1 or B1 on the front of the prop. That's important if you're replacing the prop because you have to have the proper prop. If you have a prop and you put it on the B1, the model just won't work, just based on the rotation for the models and all that stuff. The vertical fins are simply slotted into place. I used a little bit of epoxy for that. This is the antenna. The 6 out, there is an on-off switch, so be aware of that. When you plug it in, you've got to turn it on before anything happens. And this is the battery location right here. There are 2 servos that are independently to make them be both elevators and a roll for a aileron effect. And then the motors are listed up here. These are just decorative lights on the plane itself. So that's kind of what it looks like. You have the transmitter here, up, down, left, right, and then the throttle. It very nicely came with 2 batteries. They're located here, and it comes with the charger, and then the spare props, screwdriver, and then the instruction manual itself. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and plug it in. I'm going to just kind of leave the battery hanging out for this demonstration. Remember the battery, always observe polarity, red to red, black to black. That is keyed into the insert, so that is right there. Again, with these models, they don't mark the center of gravity, so we're just going to put the battery where the manufacturer says to put it. So what we're going to do, the battery is connected, and we will turn this on here. You can see the lights. The lights are kind of silly on the bottom, but it is nice so you know power is on the airplane, so I don't really have a problem with that. So the lights are on there. We turn on the transmitter with the throttle all the way low, and that's blinking there. So it beeps a little bit, and we'll do this up one at a time. So now the controls are working, and let me hold it for the throttles. So there's plenty of power, and I notice now as I turn on the power, there is differential thrust from the motor. So that'll be kind of interesting how that works, because we also have these that do both pitch. So that's pitch, and then this will cause it to roll. So I don't think we need differential thrust too much, but this should provide a lot of control authority. I mean, those are really plenty of throw on there. As I mentioned, plenty of thrust. So I'm very satisfied with that. Now, what I want to do is talk a little bit about these modes. And they talk about it, they call it a function indicator. They have a horizontal 6G, which I'm guessing is regular horizontal flight. They go into a lot of detail with just stuff that doesn't make a ton of sense on the diagrams. They have the 3D stunt mode operation, then the vertical mode operation. So what I'm going to do is the vertical mode is all the way back. 6G is here, which is I think is a level flight. Then the 3D is a 3D. So when it's in the 3D mode, notice how much those elevators move as the model moves. I don't like that too much, so we're just going to be very careful at the field how we do that. And I think that is the vertical mode. So the 6G is theoretically the normal mode, but notice when the model's level, these elevators are pretty high up and they're not even going up on either one. So I just have to be careful flying on that, because there's just a lot of uncommanded throw from that. If we go to the 6G mode, which is the middle position, this seems a little bit more normal to me. These are level and level flight, and it's just not moving as much. I think there's less input from the gyros on that. So I'm kind of thinking the 3D mode I may take for my first flight. Don't know. So this is part of the problems with automation. Unless you really explain the automation you don't know, we'll take it out to the field, see how it works. I'll be able to give you some better feedback to how that works. So that's where we are with the model. Everything checks out okay. And the next thing we'll do, we'll go at the flying field with a good weather day and see how it works. We are out at the flying field, just a beautiful day for some test flights. Here's the model on the grass, and here I am holding it up, and you can see the our runway in the back. We'll go ahead and do a control surface check. And again, these control surfaces will do different things with different flight modes. This is a 6G for the first flight. Super smooth takeoff. The plane absolutely flew fine with a 6G. Very smooth, very comfortable. I'm up high for the initial flight just to make sure I'm under control. It's a lightweight plane with a lot of power. The engines are really pretty big for a model this size. That's part of the vertical flight mode.
And the plane's very comfortable flying at a high angle of attack or a nose high position in flight. Coming in for a landing here.
Okay, super satisfied with the first flight. That was in position 1, the middle of this toggle switch right here, which is 6G mode. Now we'll try number 2, which is a 3D mode. I think I'll have more control on that. So now coming up is the 3D flight mode.
There's a takeoff in the 3D mode. You can see immediately the nose just pitches right up. Again, I've got to kind of figure out what the autopilot is thinking here as I'm flying it. It turns okay, it flies well, plenty of power, but it is just at a nose-high attitude the entire way. It's a lightweight model, plenty of power. You can fly this way for a long period of time, but I can't get the nose down, level flight to speed up. The autopilot just won't let me do this in the 3D mode.
So that was the flight in the 3D mode. I was kind of reacting to the autopilot. You can see it was very comfortable with this high angle of attack, high alpha flight. There's plenty of power with the motor. It turned well, and it's a very comfortable slow flyer. So now we're going to try the final one, the vertical mode, where theoretically the airplane flies vertically. So this is going to be new to me. I think we go to the vertical mode per the directions and just let go of it pointed straight up and see if we can fly it that way.
This is the vertical mode per the instructions. You just add throttle about halfway, nose straight up, but then immediately the nose levels off and I am along for the ride. So it's just going where it wants to go. I'm trying to turn it. It doesn't want to go there. The autopilot is doing whatever it wants to do in that mode, and then eventually went down.
So we're back from the first 3 test flights. The first 2, what is it called? 6G and 3D modes. The 6G is normal flight. It flew very well. You saw super smooth first takeoff. 3G was a lot of fun. The vertical, I can't quite figure that out. I think there's a tendency to over-automate these autopilots. I think it carries over from the drone psychology, where with drones it's completely automated. But with a drone, with the 4 motors or computers, you can do that. It's harder to do these things. So if you are going to experiment with the vertical mode, just make sure you're in a wide open area. And what I was just about ready to do, if it's not working vertical mode, just switch up 1 more click to 6G. You'll get the full control to bring it back for a landing. But other than that, it's a nice little flyer, tons of power, very comfortable with a high angle of attack flight, and the lights on the bottom are kind of fun. Good luck with yours.